14 items. Are there any that anyone has questions on, or is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor? Okay. And there's Elvira Lane again, Ed.
Yep.
Still got it.
Elvira.
Still got Elvira Lane. I like that. Okay, that's down through item 15 is a public hearing on the confirmation of the assessment roll and levy and assessments for water line extension for Woodhurst Court in accordance with section 14-144B1 of the Gastonia Code of Ordinances inside the corporate limits. The presentation is by Mr. Rusty Boss from the City Engineer.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the
Rusty.
council. The public hearing tonight is the final step in which we, utility services extended by petition, and assessments are used to pay portions of the cost of those extensions. This project is to extend water on Woodhurst Court. The project is about 320 feet of 2-inch water line that served 5 properties. The petition was signed by 3 residents. All 3 of those residents have tied on to service. The line is in place, it's in service, and those residents are receiving this service right now. At the April 1st regularly scheduled meeting, council adopted it, and I'm going to read this straight from because there's no way I'll ever remember it. Adopted a resolution declaring cost, ordering preparation of the preliminary assessment roll, and setting the public hearing for tonight to hear public comment from any interested parties. Notices of the preparation of the preliminary assessment roll were sent in this public hearing were sent out to the affected residents. There is one copy-paste correction that needs to be made on the agenda, on the resolution that's in your agenda, on the size of the line. The resolution calls for an 8-inch line. It was actually a 2-inch line. It was just a minor typo that we let get by. After any public comment from the public hearing, staff recommends adoption of the resolution confirming the assessment roll, and I will be glad to answer any questions you may have on this project.
Help me out again. What did you just say about the so
The
many
re-
inches versus what?
I'm sorry.
The inch line?
The resolution in your agenda item.
Yeah.
This is on page 15-3. So this is the resolution where you actually levy the assessment.
Yes.
The description of the project is to construct an 8-inch line as written in the agenda on that resolution. It's actually a 2-inch line that was constructed.
It's a typo.
Okay. I was looking at the next page, which is 2-inch.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I see it now.
A 2-inch line was put in the
Everyone get
ground.
that?
That's what's there now.
15.3? Okay.
Yes, sir.
2-inch line. Here's the difference. Okay. Questions?
Rusty, why did the other 2 residents?
One of the residents' well was still fine. He just didn't want to take service. The other one, I believe the other one.
Foreclosure.
Yeah, I think
That would
correct.
explain a lot.
It looks like a
Essentially
foreclosure.
nobody living there.
That would explain a lot.
Any other questions?
I move for adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Close the public hearing, too.
Is that a public hearing?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
You want to make that part of your motion?
Yeah, I'll just withdraw my motion, start over.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Ed, this is probably a foolish question, but Walt's gone, isn't he?
Yes,
Okay. He couldn't hear us anyway.
correct.
Okay.
It's true.
If we may, let's skip item 16 and come back to it in just a few minutes and go on over to the item 18, budget amendment, fiscal year 14-030, $7,000 Police Foundation donation of $7,000 to the Gastonia Police Department for the purchase of tourniquets. Mr. Chuck Niemeyer, the Police Foundation representative, bow tie and all there.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, lady and gentlemen.
Glad to have you.
I represent the Police Foundation, and we're local community leaders, professionals. I have several ties to the police department. In fact, I'm actually serve as a medical liaison for the SWAT team, and additionally, I practice orthopedics here in town. I also served in combat in Iraq in 2003, so I have first-hand knowledge of the use of a tourniquet. Tourniquets in the past had been shunned because of some damage, but there's been a lot of research lately, particularly in 2004. The Department of Medicine at Walter Reed studied a lot of combat-related injuries, particularly penetrating traumas, as well as roadside bombs. And they found that exsanguination occurred, which means bleeding, losing all your blood, in 1 out of 10 soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen that were in country that were injured. So we are honored to present tourniquets to the City of Gastonia Police. Captain Britton is right here. In fact, as I understand, in the Boston bombing a year ago, several of these were used to save lives. And I think our law enforcement men and women, if properly trained, can not only save themselves, but also our citizens, should they receive any like trauma. So I'm honored to present this.
Cap.
Any questions?
Questions of Chuck?
I'll make a comment.
Travis?
I'd like to make a comment.
Please.
I appreciate, Chuck, you being a volunteer like yours, like your mother, Carolyn, and your daddy, Charles. They're big volunteers. Saw their picture in the paper recently. I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion to approve the amendment.
If you'd like.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Yes, ma'am. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. That's item 18. Item 19 is the service contract renewal for fiscal year 2014-2015. Route 85X of the Gastonia Express Regional Transit Service, $81,864. The presentation by Mr. Hank Graham, Principal Transportation Planner. Hank?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Good evening, sir.
This is our regular annual contract to continue the annual operation of our 85X Gastonia Express bus route from downtown Gastonia to downtown Charlotte. This year, unfortunately, again, we received the contract a little late from the Charlotte Area Transit System, and I guess when we preliminarily began preparing our budget, we had not received the contract, so we find that the cost did go up. They did increase a little bit. We actually input or placed in the budget the same dollar amount that we had last fiscal year, and we found that we needed to add a slightly small amount to the budget in order to cover this. But average annual cost increases would include fuel price increases and a little bit of ridership. We still do have ridership kind of remaining level. It's not a major increase. I imagine we'll see another spike, a small spike, if we find that gas prices this summer do go up above $4 a gallon as they have been proposed or expected to do. But we did have a large amount of positions or employees that did not commute to Charlotte every day. So that's why the ridership numbers have remained stable or steady and not increased or decreased. But this is the contract. It's for a total amount of $81,000 and change. And we are still being subsidized by the city of Belmont for $5,000 a year. We did finalize an annual contract where they committed to provide that $5,000 on an annual basis as long as the route is operating. Did make another request to Gaston County. They have not chosen to participate financially, And we even asked for an increase in the $5,000 annual allocation from Belmont, and they chose just to leave the dollar amount the same. So,
Dr. Gurley?
Who sets the fares?
the Charlotte Area Transit System does, because the buses are being provided by their overall bus system. And it's based on the contract. I guess the operators are Charlotte Area Transit System operators. Their fares, their salaries, the fuel. You know, maybe if we were to actually provide the operators, provide the fuel, maybe our prices would be slightly different. I don't know, but we enter into the annual contractual obligation with CATS, and we pay for half of the service. But, you know, maybe if our overhead and our costs were a little lower, maybe we could enjoy some decreases in the operating cost of the route. I don't know.
I was wondering if the fares were uniform throughout the system.
Yes, they are. For all of the express bus routes that you are talking about outside of Charlotte, we have one Rock Hill, one to East Lincoln, one up in Mooresville. Yes, they are.
And the only reason I ask that is because, you know, right now Gastonia is subsidizing, you know, Gaston County residents or non-residents of Gastonia. And I'm really tired of it. And it sounds like we have no redress to that. However, it's certainly not fair. And I know you've solicited the other municipalities of the county as well as the county in the past. And I don't know if there's any other form of relief that we can receive from anyone to help subsidize this increasing cost that Gastonia continues to bear, where other residents of the county are receiving those benefits. But it does not make good economic sense for the citizens of Gastonia to continue to have to shoulder this burden. And I don't know how to fix it, but I sure wish somebody in this room could come up with an idea.
Well, from a staff perspective, I'd like to say we have not asked before. The MPO, we did grow this year. We expanded into 3 counties, but we are still considered a small-sized MPO, so there are certain transportation efforts that we are not mandated to participate in, which would be transportation management association activities, where we actually would be required to partner with private industry to provide transportation improvement programs. We can, just because we're not, I'd say that I as staff have not approached our private sector employers to request their participation in a program like this, but that is an option that we do have.
Ms. Craig?
Has the county ever participated?
Not with the 85X
Right.
route, but they participated in some other regional transportation planning activities.
Well, I mean, and I just piggyback on what Councilman Curlin is saying, is that each year the city of Gastonia absorbs that additional cost. And I'm sure that it isn't just city of Gastonia residents that are using the 85X. So I guess my question is, has the county, since we've had the 85X bus line, has the county ever, okay, all right, and I certainly feel the same way, is that the city of Gastonia always kind of steps up to the plate and bears that burden. And Belmont doing the 5,000, that's something, okay? But it services all of Gaston County citizens. So I would like to see us also pursue some other way. I don't have an answer either, but there could be something.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, sir. Go.
I think 2 things. One, there was an increase of $5,500 from CATS, is that it?
Yes,
And Belmont's paying the same amount?
they're paying the same.
They're paying they paid 5,000 last year, they're paying 5,000 this year, and they didn't get like 10 or 20% of this increase that was dropped on us?
It was provided to them. We informed them of such, and they declined to increase their annual allocation.
That doesn't sound right. I mean, if CATS is dropping it on us, they need to drop it on them as well.
Our contract, I'm sorry, let me explain. The contract between CATS and the city of Gastonia is simply that, between the city of Charlotte and the city of Gastonia. The contract with Belmont is with the city of Gastonia. They are doing this as on a voluntary basis.
Yeah, but if, we should just say the voluntary basis is now, you know, if you want the bus to stop there, it's costing $5,000. Well, now it's $5,500 because we're getting hit from CATS. The other thing is, I'd love to see a noonday bus. I mean, it just makes sense. You know, the buses only run from 5:15 in the morning until 7:20 in the morning. And then the buses don't start up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, if you're working half a day, you can't get back. And there's a lot of people that would like to go a half-day route if they wanted to. Have we investigated that at all with CATS?
We did. They provided us the cost of providing a noonday bus route. It's very expensive. I think in order for us to enter into that agreement, CATS does not wish to provide a noonday bus route on top of the existing agreement here. If the city of Gastonia wished to provide that, we would have to pay 100% of that additional cost.
I can understand that. But we have 4 buses in the morning and 4 buses in the afternoon. Can we take one bus away, like in the morning, and have a noonday bus? And I mean, it's the same amount of buses, 8.
We looked at that. That is a lowering of the level of service that all of the existing riders have enjoyed for the 13 years of the route's history.
Can we solicit the riders that are doing that and ask them what their preference would be?
We can do that.
To find out which one of the routes they'd like to cut out in order to have a noonday bus?
We can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Grill?
So this is a one-year contract extension, correct?
Yes, I think historically we were doing 3-year. We'll do 1-year contract with a 3-year renewal. Just if something happened, you know, say for example, gas prices went to $7 a gallon and we wanted out. We didn't want to renew it again and needed to start over from scratch. You know, some unique event or occurrence.
So currently, what's the percentage of ridership that is from Gastonia?
I think it was between 20 and 25%. I mean, we had some
Wow.
riders. There was one rider from the last survey, which we did last year.
Right.
We updated it. We had some riders from York County and Cleveland County as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
Okay.
some other local governments, but I mean, the frequency was very low. We're talking,
Right.
Yeah.
So how much notice do we have to give them to cancel the contract?
I think it's typical,
60 days or?
60 day,
Mhm.
30 day notice,
Mhm.
and 60 day to cancel.
So if we were to publicly make aware the fact that Gastonia was not going to continue to pay this every year and threaten to cancel the contract if we didn't get participation from the county, do you think that would get their ear?
It would send a message. I don't know. I can't speak.
If you have 25% ridership from Gastonia approximately, okay, and we're subsidizing 75% of the ridership,
Right.
it's time to do something different. So I think that's something to think about.
It's more than 75%, isn't it, that we're subsidizing?
Hack. Question, I know you said you did a survey as to the people that were riding, where they're from. Outside of Gastonia, but within Gaston County, what percentage would that be?
Oh, definitely within Gaston County, it was above 90%. I mean, the Cleveland County and the York County that I mentioned, they probably didn't even represent 5%.
Right, but outside of the city of Gastonia,
Yeah, it would be 45, 50% of the remaining.
so they, yeah,
Yeah, you are carrying the load. You are
Yeah.
carrying around 90% of
we
it.
need to let the commissioners know that.
I think those riders will let the commissioners know when
Yeah.
we give notice that, you know, we're
We're done.
thinking of canceling the contract.
Right.
Okay.
Something to think about in the next 12 months, folks.
No, I definitely agree with Councilman Carlin that, and I think we had this discussion somewhat last year.
Every-
Same,
We have it every year.
Every year.
so,
I'm tired of having it.
but if we keep having it, we just heard Hank say that no one's going to look into talking to private industry. Why have alternatives not been sought out and researched? If we have the same discussion every year and the council says that they're not happy with it every year, why have there been no alternatives proposed?
All the other alternatives have always involved governments. And this conversation that Hank, or the suggestion that, you know, maybe someone like Bank of America or something like that might kick into that, I mean, that's something that we could pursue. But I think all our other discussions have always been to try to get Mount Holly, the county, and governments involved.
But he just said we could also look for Gastonia to look at providing the service to a private contractor. I mean, just
Oh,
because we're putting
through-
people on a bus to take them to Charlotte, doesn't mean it has to be through CATS, correct?
Oh, it doesn't have to be CATS. But someone has to pay for it, though.
Correct,
That's-
but if we could get a private contractor to come in for less, and we still have Belmont's input, we get the county to do input, that's just less for us.
And just have just.
It's a
Gas-
savings regardless.
And let only Gastonia residents ride if we're sponsored.
Well, that's why I was asking about the rates, because if there was a differential, I'd suggest that there'd be a differential in the rate between a Gastonia resident and a non-Gastonia resident.
It's
Charge the
kinda-
non-Gastonia resident twice as much.
Well, it's kind of like charging,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the city, this is what you pay at the Shield Museum. or
Exactly,
wherever.
Right.
If you're
exactly. That's,
outside the city.
that's
then-
why I was asking those questions.
Exactly. It's-
Because
it's-
I'm just really tired of it. And I would charge, you know, Hank and his staff, within 4 to 6 months, they have, you know, researched all the private, you know, funding available through corporate, you know, sponsorship, whatever. And if in 6 months there's been none of that available, then we look at this again and see what we're going to do. But I'm just tired of it.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
One question. The total cost to the city for our contract with CATS, is it $35,000?
Yes, it's, of that total dollar amount, the 80, is it 81?
Yeah,
81 and change.
right.
Split that in
It
half.
boils down to,
Yes, split that in half.
so 35,000 for having 4 buses a day, 8 buses, really,
Correct.
a day, come back and forth from Charlotte. That's pretty inexpensive
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
for a year.
The overall, I think the
mean,
overall annual.
I understand where you're coming from, Dave. I really would like to see the county step up. I totally get
Well,
that.
let's get some strategies together to figure out how to get the county to step up then.
That's an excellent idea.
The only
So-
other idea that I could come up with, we could allocate our CMAQ funding or congestion mitigation for equality funding to this program.
Now,
Well, why don't we do that?
by us,
We've used it for other projects, but.
But in the future, if we budget it in next year's
Yes, in the
budget,
future, If we have.
because that's obviously an excellent, you know, source as well as excellent utilization of those funds.
And for a transit system or transit project like this, the local match is 10%, not 20. For the-
Well, let's look at all the options and please report back to us in a timely fashion.
and Hank, we get some type of credits because we're doing this bus thing through MPO or
Well, I think.
Keep America Beautiful or
It helps
some
us
group.
with our ozone non-conforming requirements and reporting to the federal government to have transit.
Because we have to have so much mass transit,
Correct.
a city of our size.
It helps us pass conformity.
Thank you, sir.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Don't we need to vote to
Yes,
approve this?
Get a
So
motion.
I guess we're kind of stuck at this point to approve it for at least one more year because we can't just pull the bus out from under the riders, so to speak. huh?
You approve the contract renewal.
See that.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Any more? All in favor? Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, well, we hear the direction of the council on this item. This item used to be on the consent agenda all the time, and the council every year would take it off. So this time we said, we'll just put it on the, here and let's discuss it, because there've been a couple new wrinkles about variation of fares. We could talk about that, and we'll try to explore all these alternatives and come back to the council within, you know, maybe around September or something like that, so that we can then make a decision as to where we're headed.
Item 20 is the wholesale electric rate discussion. Director